Hi, let's check about secondary screens and devices for gaming here. The big three companies in video games consoles here are Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony here. So we're going to see that the console here, and console is fading away because of the new virtual reality like a glass or using a mobile phone here. Give you some example here. So you're talking about Nintendo. So here's Nintendo. Wii was an I/O device, input output. It's very new here, and several years ago, many people use it to do some exercise here. Wii, that's very good technology here, and Xbox here, and the Xbox created by Microsoft here. And so they are talking about that one still here. And Sony have their, so here we say Sony, and they have the PS Vita device here. So that's a Sony here. So pay attention to those company here. And if you want to say that Microsoft is the US based here, Nintendo, that's Japanese, and Sony, the Japanese based company here. So Japan in this gaming here still in the leading position, and I have told you the reason for that is they have a culture more than 100 years. This culture is to read comics books, not only for kids but also for adults here. Comics books is the source or the base of all the gaming, movies, and that has not been changed here. So if you are still reading the comics book, that culture here, so that's why Japan is, in terms of gaming, that's like #1, it's leading position because of the comics books reading culture here. So it's not like they work hard here. Yeah, they work hard here, but they are not leading in every area here, leading in car here, leading in video games here, but not in every area here. So working hard is not good enough. It's not a real reason. So if you say that they are working hard here, so because of that, they are going to leading in all the areas here. No, it's not like that here. For instance here, mobile phone, that's iPhone, that's from the US here, and Samsung phone here, LG phone, that's from Korea. So it's not like, do you have any phone from Japan? Yeah, they have a Sony phone here, but like used to have a Sony Ericsson. So Ericsson is a Swedish in Japan. They have a Sony Ericsson phone. I used to have one. So they are not that strong in mobile phone. So that's so just to tell you here, you need to find a reason here. So my suggestion here is read more comics books. People read comics book for fun here, and a game designer here have to read your comics book. It's like your textbooks. So if you say no, I don't like it here, I don't blame you. Like it or not like it here, it's not related to what we are talking about. If you are in the gaming business here, I really suggest you to read more comics books here, because we are competing globally here with Japan, with some other companies here. So let's try to tell you the game console here. The game console are fading away with new augmented reality, virtual reality glass, and with the mobile phone. We'll see here, see if that is the case here, like this one here. It's a game console, and the title for this one is well, I'll show you a teenager here. The young kids nowadays, you say this kid is a teenager here, so he don't know much, or he really know a lot here. The younger you are, the more knowledge new knowledge you have for all the video games here. I mean, if your age, you're too old, then you don't know the new trend here. So those kids, they play since they were born, 8, 2, or 3 here, and the younger you are, you probably have more insight of those new games here. And the title here is kind of funny here. It says game consoles that refuses to die here. Okay, so let's take a look.
Hey y'all. Scott here, and before you ask, honestly, what does it look like I'm doing? So Some consoles live through so much, whether that be living through future console generations or getting pounded by a hammer. Consoles generally have a lifespan of 5 or so years, but some consoles last well beyond that. Some can last a decade and beyond, which is insane. So here are just a few consoles that just refuse to die and lived on regardless of their age or getting pummeled to death. The Sega Dreamcast is infamous for being Sega's last hurrah as a dedicated console manufacturer. It released in Japan on November 27, 1998 and was officially discontinued on March 31st, 2001. So how did it refuse to die? Well, games are still being made for the thing. The Dreamcast is incredibly easy to make games for. You can make games on standard CD-ROMs, no proprietary junk, so homebrew software has been steadily coming out for the platform since it was discontinued. Some of the more prolific releases in recent years include Volgar the Viking and Pure Solar. These aren't officially licensed by Sega, but it's still impressive that the Dreamcast has been kept half alive by fans for this long. In terms of the last officially licensed game released on the platform, Karos is the game you're looking for, released on March 8, 2007, only in Japan. For a console discontinued in 2001, that's pretty wacky. Sega's 8-bit Master System did okay at best here in North America, but absolutely dominated in PAL regions, especially Brazil. The company Tectoy reached an agreement with Sega to distribute their consoles in Brazil. This allowed the consoles to maintain a cheaper price point compared to the other systems. While the Master System was discontinued in North America by Sega in 1992 after 6 years of availability, the Sega Master System technically has yet to officially be discontinued, as it continues to sell around 100,000 units or so each year in Brazil alone. The Master System has been available to purchase for 30+ years. In addition to that, the Genesis is in a similar boat. Released in 1988, Sega stopped all first-party manufacturing of the system in 97. However, since then, third parties have obtained the license to continually produce Genesis systems this very day. Tectoy has the license to release the console in Brazil just like the Master System, and here in North America, AtGames releases Genesis plug-and-play systems, preloaded with a multitude of games and also accepts the original cartridges. These systems, however, aren't the greatest. The preloaded games have a plethora of emulation problems, and even playing the original cartridges have some issues. But that's a story for another day. One of the most well-known long-lasting consoles, the PlayStation 2, basically lived through the PlayStation 3's lifespan. Released in 2000, the console lasted 13 years before being discontinued and receiving its last game in 2013. Why did it last so long? Well, it always held its title of being a pretty good DVD player. Also, it had a huge install base, so developers kept making games for it. This was probably due to the Wii and PSP having comparable hardware, so it made sense to make games for what was at the time last generation hardware. The mighty Neo Geo. Some know it as a home to some of the greatest arcade games known to man, others know it as the garbage clogging up the Nintendo Switch eShop. Neo Geo arcade cabinets housed multiple games made by SNK, and for those who wanted to play these games at home, the Neo Geo AES was for them. Back in the 90s, home console ports of arcade games were always known to be not as good as the originals. With the Neo Geo AES, the games released for the console were literally the arcade originals. They didn't have to squeeze them onto a small cartridge, they basically sold huge cartridges with the arcade boards in them. But the authenticity of arcade games at home came at a hefty price of being $650. However, the system lasted pretty long for being such a niche item. Originally released in 1991, the AES was discontinued in 97, which is a decent lifespan, but it received its last game in 2004, and finally SNK ended technical support for the system in 2007. Two of the most popular consoles of all time, the NES and SNES, both had pretty lengthy lifespans. Here in North America, the NES debuted in 1985 and was officially discontinued in 1995, lasting 10 years, while the SNES launched in 91 and was discontinued in 99. But as I said, that's only for North America. The Japanese equivalents to these consoles, the Famicom and Super Famicom, had even longer lives. The Famicom debuted in 1983, was discontinued in 2003, and officially had technical support dropped in 2007 due to a waning supply of parts. The Famicom was on shelves for 20 years. The Super Famicom debuted in 1990, also lasted until 2003 and ended technical support in 2007, but the Famicom lasting that long is way more impressive. The Sega Pico is the often forgotten baby's first Genesis. It's basically an educational game system for young children with insides similar to a Sega Genesis. Cartridges are these book things, and the system knows when you turn the page. You also have this pen for controls, and honestly, for the early 90s, the Pico is pretty cool and definitely impressive for just an educational game console. However, it did okay at best for a game system, moving around 4 million units in total. For being such an obscure system from the past, it lasted from 1993 to 2005. That's pretty crazy for a system that barely anybody remembers and didn't do insanely well. The 7th generation of video game consoles is crazy. All 3 of these systems are still receiving new game releases to this very day, more than 10 years after they all initially released. Even the Wii is continually receiving Just Dance titles. Remember the first few years of the Xbox One and PS4 when each multi-platform release would see a last-gen version as well? Now PS3 and 360 releases are almost exclusively sports games and Just Dance. All these consoles have been discontinued, but games are still released every year, which may continue a bit longer. Single-handedly ushering video games into the pop culture and quickly later destroying all of their value, the Atari 2600 is one of history's most iconic game consoles. Released in 1977, the 2600 gained loads of traction and popularity, but after the market became oversaturated with poor games and competing game consoles, the video game crash in 1983 came about. However, the 2600 sold well enough for it to stay in production until January 1st, 1992, withstanding 14.5 years at retail. I find this so impressive because it was one of the factors of the crash, yet it lived well into the 16-bit generation. That's nuts! Alright, so you know what they say, if you can survive the first 13 years of your life, you can survive just about anything. So let's see if not only could this sucker survive a long retail life, but also, you know, a pummeling. No. How am I gonna play Banjo now?
Hey Scott, that's a very good job here. It's funny and it's informational here. Well, I wish you can come to our class sometime here, and you know, we can talk a little bit more here. Yeah. So that's very good info you can find about all the game consoles. I believe you guys, the game designers here, have played 1, 2, or more consoles when you were young here. So this is showing you, and this kind of information here, we can learn some lessons from the invention and the dying of those consoles here. It's not like useless info here. You see the change of gaming industry is very, very fast here, but we surely can learn something from those games here. So pay attention to that here. And the last topic we want to talk is the social collaborative virtual reality here. They give you example for VR chat. So what is VR chat? During the gaming here, using example is very, very important here. I mean, you can keep talking about a theory here, but there are so many good examples here. You don't know those examples here, you don't know what you're talking about. A concept always then come to a game here, specific game here. And just said that gaming isn't been left behind in the major move behind technology here. This guy says the gaming platform are continuing being improved and new ones are being created. Yeah, that's very, very important here. So we need to pay attention to the platform here. And the new platform, I would suggest here, like the virtual reality here, like Pokemon here. They're using the mobile phone, right, to catch a Pokemon. So my suggestion here is to pay attention in addition to all the platform here, all the consoles, and all the virtual reality glass here, augmented reality glass here. Pay attention to your mobile phone, because you're going to carry, you have carry, and I think in the near future you're going to carry your mobile phone most of the time. So mobile phone going to be another console or co-console in the future here. Let's take a look for what we can learn from this VR chat here. So what is the VR chat here? And this one has 14 minutes here. We may not want to view 14 minutes here, but we want to get some idea what is a VR chat.
I told you for the site to leave. What's up with it? I should have been laughing at drum and bass pigeons so much, but I still do.
That song always gets me.
Oh, Dino Cops.
So you know how they always tell me you're too short for the rides. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna extendo.
Extend.
Now what are they gonna say?
I don't know, I have shade is disabled, so you're still about the same height. Hold on. Oh!
Now that's true anime proportions right there.
Oh dear. I don't know which one of these three you're talking about.
You guys want to hear my Animal Crossing impression?
Wow,
it's the real PewDiePie.
Yeah, chat, please gotta change.
Is that Markiplier?
Hold on, Bunny. I can't hear it. There's a dancing frog at the corner of my eye, and I can't get rid of it.
Corey Cruz, I talked to the guy. He's a pretty cool guy. I sort of wish Postal 3 didn't do bad. I feel bad for him. He's like the nicest guy. He gave me some really cool voice lines, though.
Are you seriously ERP?
What am I looking at?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stop here. You get some idea about this VR chat here. So VR chat here, that is a little bit funny here, a little bit crazy here, and it's coming here to see here games such as VR chat are already making this reality. The future of virtual reality could very much be a space of social interaction. They're talking about this VR chat here. Play with your friend here, like for a social event here, interactive here. Rather than isolated here. This is very important here. Games used to be you play, take turns, right? You play, your brother want to play, okay, or wait until your turn here. But right now they want you to play together here. And VR chat here is going to play, instead of isolation here, play by yourself here. Not much of fun here. How about play with other people, interaction here. So that's a fun game here for a party, I would say that here. Pay more attention to the new games here as a game designer. That's my humble suggestion to you. And that's all I would like to share with you now.